will now be recorded.
Thank you, Jake. It's calling the Transportation Technical Committee to order for September 19th, and just we have got a few items kind of unusual, but I just want to attendance. We have a quorum, and then public comments. Jen, do we have anybody?
Not that anyone has announced to me.
Okay, so going to item number 4 for approval of the minutes for the August 15th meeting. Everybody got a chance to review the draft minutes, including the package. Questions, comments? Move to approve. Okay, with the second. Okay, Jim, Dan. Second, any questions, discussions? Those with favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion approved. Moving on, I just want to point out for the rest of the items 5 and 6, and I'll ask our colleagues at the Bureau of Planning, my dogs from Springfield are joining us virtually. We have Elizabeth Irvin and also Brandon Gabber. So I'm going to have maybe Elizabeth to go give us the background of items 5 and 6. And because they're two distinct items and projects, so I would suggest that we should vote on that separately. But Elizabeth, if you don't mind, give us a background about this. We don't usually see this type of projects for our meetings, so if you will, please go ahead.
Yeah, it's a little bit unusual. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay, great. So this is, are folks familiar with the NEVI, or National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program, at all?
Yes.
I'm seeing some head nods. So yeah, so these are 2 locations that were selected through the state's Notice of Funding Opportunity for NEVI funding to build EV charging infrastructure throughout the state. And this is for round 2 funding, which folks may have seen. We just announced those awards earlier this week on Wednesday. So in order for the funds to get obligated, they need to be, all these locations either need to be in an MPO tip or in the STIP. So we're working on getting those locations in so we can get that funding obligated and make sure that we've got it all secured for those stations to move forward. There are two sites on the agenda today. They're pretty similar. They're different locations, but same general concept for each of them. They're EV charging infrastructure located on private property. So this program is functioning as a grant program to private entities to construct and operate and maintain for a period of 5 years EV charging infrastructure. You'll see them have a match, a federal share. The local match in the case of both of these projects comes from the private sector. So the companies are contributing that local share of the project bonus. I'm happy to answer any other questions anybody has about these projects.
Any questions for her? Anybody? I guess none. Yeah, O'Brien.
Any idea on what the time frame for installation might be?
It depends. I can look it up and I can get you the timeline that they submitted with the application. It varies on what the utility coordination side of things are. Often the transformers are the things with the longest lead time. So I will double check on what the timeline is for these projects. Just to give you a sense, for round 1, we made awards last year around the same time frame. It took us a little while to get through contract negotiation and our grant agreement execution. And then of course things have been a little uncertain in the spring, but we've been moving forward with those projects, and the first ones are hopefully going to break ground in November. So to give you a sense, I think the next round will be faster because a lot of the same entities in the second round as in the first round.
Thank you.
I have a question. I'm a programmer in District 5 for funding, and so I see 73% federal share and 46% federal share. How do you get those numbers?
Those were the, basically, we asked as part of the notice of funding opportunity for the applicants to come in and say what percent they were requesting from the feds. It's a max of 80-20, but we scored applications higher if the private sector was willing to put in more money. So
okay, sounds good.
That's what we'll see. Yeah.
Good answer. Thank you.
Yeah.
I do have a question. How many, not for this two projects, but overall, how many in the state of Illinois did we get like approval?
So round one, we selected 37 locations. That was back last year. This round two, we've identified 25 locations. And if I can grab I thought I had it up, the press release, but there's it's in the, I think this round is 160 ports. So each of those sites have at least 4 port, but it's often more than that. And that is only a fraction. This round was about $18.4 million. The first round was a little over $25 million in federal funds. We have a total of about $149 million in NEVI funds. So we'll be doing another round of funding opportunity in late this year with some more flexibility.
Yeah, that's good to know. I think there's some local governments, partners are interested, to have more the charging stations for our community. Yeah.
Yes.
Did you say these are level 3 ports?
Yes. Yes.
And there's no changes in the national program, right? Because I read something about in the news, there might be some changes, or maybe it's all settled.
It's been an interesting year of back and forths, but the sort of short version is that where we are now is that the FHWA released new guidance about a month ago, and they loosened some requirements. So the program, we're required to build out our alternative fuel corridors, which in the state of Illinois is our interstate highways, before we can spend money off the corridors. And they've given us some more flexibility in how do we define fully built out. They've given us some more flexibility. We have to submit an annual plan. They loosened the requirements for what needs to go into that plan submission. So the program is really continuing. The plan is to continue sort of unchanged from our plan prior to this year, which is once we finish building out the alternative fuel corridors, to move into doing the non-interstate U.S. routes, scenic byways, continuing to look at on the corridors, identifying where there might be some need for redundancy, looking at expanding to some medium and heavy duty charging, and generally trying to sort of find places where investment of state resources can help, charging infrastructure that wouldn't otherwise get built. So that's kind of the plan going forward, which is basically what we had outlined in our previous plan submission.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, good to know. Yeah. Anybody else got any questions, comments? Okay, hearing none. So if we can take up item number 5 for amendment number 8 to the TIP. I'll take a motion to approve. Okay, Ryan.
Second.
Okay, Jerry. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
No objections, I take it. So it's deemed approved. So item number 6, I'll take a motion.
So,
Okay, Derek. And seconds.
second.
and Ryan, and this would be for amendment number 9 to the tip. Item number 6 on the agenda. Please, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion approved. Yeah, thank you, Elizabeth, and thanks, Brandon. Yeah, feel free to stay on because we have other IDOT colleagues here and other IDOT items if you're interested related to the tip. Yeah. But anyway.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna hop off, but thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks. Okay, moving on to items. Well, I want to go from 7, item number 7 through 18 on the agenda. There's been some changes, as you might know, and so that we kind of renumbering the amendments. And I'll also note that there's some amendments that are originally on the agenda are no longer warranted. And so if I may just have maybe Derek and then Jen to kind of touch upon those. Maybe Derek first.
Okay. This will be the sheet that you want to follow along with because this is the correct version. But I can kind of take them as a group from like amendments 10 through 16. I'll just go line by line without really calling out the project, but what the change was. So amendment 10 basically just had an increase in PD dollars from $750,000 to $1 million. It was already in FY26. The next one down, amendment 11, is a carryover of land acquisition dollars from FY25 to FY26. Amendment 12 is a new line of
Can I
funding.
interrupt for just a second? Just make sure that you're using this document, so the shorter one, because this has the reassigned amendment numbers in that column. So the one that's struck out is from the agenda. The one that's in its place, not struck out, is the new one.
Okay, so amendment 12 is a new line of funding for land acquisition in FY26. Amendment 13 is carryover of land acquisition dollars from FY25 to FY26. Amendment 14 is a carryover of railroad coordination from FY25 to FY26. Amendment 15 is a carryover and combination of 2 lines from FY25 to FY28 to a line that was already existing in FY26. And then Amendment 16 is just a new line of construction inspection for the FY26 in this project. And I'll take any questions if anybody has any.
Yeah. Anything else you just want to add, Jen?
Just very quickly, what this means is that the current agenda items 8, 9, 10, page 12, 13, and 14 have been eliminated. On this blue page, they've been renumbered, but not yet on the agenda. So we'll just strike those from the agenda for the policy committee. Sorry for the confusion. Derek and I got our wires crossed.
Yeah, we're gonna rewire for next month. We're gonna figure it out. So let's see.
Not yet. If I may just, because a lot of people who got the email this morning. So amendment 12 on the original agenda is needed or not needed because it contradicts to what?
I have it. You're talking about number 12 on the agenda.
Number 9 on the agenda for amendment 12.
Yeah, I can have that as being needed.
Okay, because Jay just said
Sorry.
differently.
I have it as being needed.
Okay.
I'm gonna double check it since it's $21,000 land acquisition. Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Is that like a little strip of right or something?
It must be.
Raised.
All those
pushing the
other than,
funds.
But that's just carryover dollars, what was left over.
So just for my own notes, I'm looking at in terms of the agenda item numbers. Number 8, number 10, number 12, 13, and 14 are no longer needed.
Exactly.
Okay.
Got it.
sorry, I got you.
And then as a result, the other amendments have been renumbered accordingly.
But only here.
Yeah, and so with exception of the that 12, but it's for reference anyway.
So this is what, in item, amendment 15.
Okay.
Is the only federal funded.
Correct.
Okay.
Before I ask how to make a motion on this, is there any, from a perspective, are there questions on, I mean, because it seems like this is cleanup, it just seems like this is cleanup.
Carryover exercise has been completed and things have been either carried over or carried over and combined. The only real increase was the state-only phase 1 and phase 2 for those bridges in 74. And then we have another addition on state-only for just construction inspection on what was that? Illinois 9, which was JO43. So they just decided they needed $2.5 million extra for construction inspection for that project.
Can I make a suggestion that since this discussion will be recorded in the minutes about what was valid and what wasn't, that you can go ahead and use the new unstruck numbers. So 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, the replacement numbers for the ones that we're keeping for the purposes of the motion. Does that sound reasonable?
I would move for that. And I can try to repeat it if warranted.
This records.
I agree. It can go back.
So are we all good in terms of numbers and amendment numbers, agenda items numbers?
We could spend 5 minutes going over that. Just move to approve.
Yeah, so we can take up as a group.
Hardy.
Yeah, we can take up from agenda items number 7 through 18, recognizing some of those have been deleted as they are no longer wanted.
Motion on the table.
Yep.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Ryan. Further discussion? Okay, hearing none. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion approved. So let's move on to items for information or discussion. And by the way, so Jen will update this and then for the policy committee for this 5 days, their action on this.
So do we want to pull up those slides real quick?
So what we have is, what I meant was just what we have voted on, so they will be updated, and then for the policy. And then the next item, number 19, is the E-chip, something that we talked about for a while, and with IDOT and also with FHWA. Since we still have Brandon here, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brandon, do you want to, because you've been kind of leading this effort from IDOT's perspective. Since you're here, would you like to say a few words before I ask Jen to give a little presentation? Not to put you on the spot.
No, give me 1 second here.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
My apologies. I got moved on to a different item here.
Yeah.
E-tip.
Yeah. Since you're kind of leader on this whole thing from IDOT's perspective, just wondering if you want to share any background, any overall thing.
Yeah, certainly. So, most MPOs, just about all the MPOs within the state, manage a tip document due to federal requirements, but they've always been in sort of a static format, which is great because you have something physical you can hold and see. But from a project management standpoint, it gets kind of clunky. Obviously, as we see today, there's tons of amendments, and you're kind of always left wondering what is the latest status of a project. When was it included? What do I need to point to get a project delivered and collect my information before going to letting? So to get over this, CMAP, Chicago MPO, implemented an E-tip about 10 years ago, and it's been widely successful for them. Obviously, their program is huge, about 2,000 projects, if not more. But it certainly piqued the interest of other MPOs throughout the state. But cost has been kind of a issue. So we found a way to repurpose planning funding to purchase the software for all the MPOs within the state, outside of a couple small ones in Southern Illinois. But that essentially provides a service for everyone. So I know we just started the process with McLean County, but really the big difference you're going to see is just having a interactive software to view project data. You're always going to see the latest information, and hopefully it'll just be an overall easier experience as far as project management and use. So look forward to getting that implemented. Certainly, if others are interested in the software, they do go beyond just MPO tips. So I think Lake County currently uses them for their county highway program. But once again, just a tool to be more up to date, more transparent, and be able to just display a lot more information outside of a kind of static PDF document. So I'm happy to take questions. Certainly welcome, feedback from the team here.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know Brandon, he's with IWO Planning, and he's the Metropolitan Program Planning Section Chief. Just in case you don't know, get a chance to meet Brandon. Okay, any questions for Brandon before I have Jen to give a presentation? Okay, thanks, Brandon. Please stay on, and then Jen's going to give a presentation here. This is, as Brandon said, we are in the process of working with a consultant, IDOT's consultant, to work on the e-tip. So it's a evolving conversion process, and so last few weeks we've been working with the consultant, and a few more weeks to go to complete the process for our MPO, and then we'll do some work and then before evolving the project with our local partners. So Jan, go ahead, please.
Sure, and I'm going to ask Thomas to help me out on some of this as well. This is pretty straightforward implementation timeline. We're sort of at number 4 and going through the process of adapting our data, the way we've done it in those horrible spreadsheets all these years, into the system here. It has differences from the way we've categorized things. We're talking to them about that. And one of the things that we have asked for is a kind of supplemental menu of program funding. In other words, the sources of those fundings, because we've taken the practice of using all of the local governments' long list of internal documentation and funding all the way across so that it shows up in our tip specific to those funds. The original proposition was that would be consolidated into local funding. And we decided that wasn't big enough because in so many instances, the local governments, particularly Bloomington and Normal, are using multiple funds on a given project. We want to be able to break that. So we've talked about that. Next slide, please. So again, language gets to be a barrier here. What they're calling a plan or a plan cycle is basically the tip. So we will be using that terminology, but basically it doesn't change. So what's below is the basic standardized fields in the system. And as I mentioned, we are making some requests for a little bit more detail in some instances. A couple of things look to us to be sort of redundant, and we're asking for a way to clarify that. And then the one thing that's sort of stung us a little bit is that we still have in the program what we've called joint projects over the years. So for example, there's one for Bloomington early on in our current tip that is Bloomington's share of the Route 9 East to West project. What we're looking for is a way to sort of cross-reference those. Rather than calling them a joint project, it will be multiple entries, a state entry, maybe a Bloomington and a Normal entry, we don't know yet, it depends on the project, but a way to sort of tie those together. And they're sort of working on ways to implement that so that if somebody goes into Bloomington's project and says, where's this going, why is this here, they will see that it's connected to two other things, which was actually, it's a better solution than we arrived at with the joint part, but because of the way this is constructed, we're kind of stuck with that. And this is what we've been sort of figuring out what they mean and what we mean and making sure that we are understanding each other. Yes, Jim?
So is the project ID the parent relationship that ties the together? Or is
No, that's the individual jurisdictions. You know, you have a project ID on that, so
Okay.
it's still there.
So like the IDOT's, their tip number that is, I'm always like, okay, what that correlate to J1259?
Yeah, right, I know, triple X.
Yes, right.
So
So, okay, good.
the way we're looking at this is that everybody retains their project number as the project ID under your jurisdiction, but we'll find a way to cross-reference them within the records. So basically, every project has a line in their underlying documentation, their spreadsheet or database, and we'll find a way to tie it together. So that if somebody opens yours and looks at it and says, why is this here? What are they doing?
Mm-hmm.
There'll be some sort of note or some sort of indicator that it's connected to other projects and which ones those are and how to look them up so that they can see them all.
So your B-1-2 will be retained, but because that's more like that's just your share of funding, but it also would be related to whatever IDOT's doing for Route 9, for example. So you'll have your B-whatever, and then IDOT will have their ID, but then they'll all be under a group that is just, Route 9 corridor improvement, and then you can see individually what entity is doing what and spending what.
Thank you.
Can we go on here? Because we're running out of time. So again, this is for those sort of overarching documents or projects. This is the rubric they're using as to what it needs for the tip, and we are working to make sure that that's consistent with, whatever they've got. Next slide, please.
Well, just really quickly, like
Very quickly.
Jen said, we typically just do MPO approval. We don't really know what state FHWA or FTA do. That's the default in there. We can take that away, I think. But if we want to keep that in there, those entities would have to tell us.
We're still deciding those things. Okay.
That's gonna have to stay in there.
Okay.
There you go.
Gotcha. I figured as much because it's kind of official. We get it. It comes back to us, but not in, a systematic way.
Well, and I'll just add that this system, although it's going to take a second for us to get it live, another benefit is it automates state, federal highway, and FTA approval. So our federal partners can just go into the system and hit approve rather than having to go through the, PDF letter mess back and forth. So it should greatly increase the time it takes for us to get approval to move forward with these projects.
Okay, Thomas, you want to briefly?
So these are the project types that Eco Interactive has presented us with. I know in our tip, we don't have a field or a column that says project type. When I did like an interactive map, I just pulled for whatever you guys say in your descriptions. So for example, sidewalk improvements or pavement preservation. Here, they're a little more broad, so to speak. So there's just bike, ped, bridge. It doesn't say whether it's bridge replacement, bridge rehab, bridge painting. So that's going to be something we're going to have to work with. One thing we'll show later is that we can do custom fields. So while we'll still have what they want to use here, bridge, later on we can be like specific type, bridge replacement, etc.
Okay, moving on.
So just like I mentioned earlier, so this is something that we have on our website that I made. Again, I based the project type, so to speak, on what the description said. I did this only for the public's better navigation of it, so they can say, oh, where's rail grade separation, traffic signals. So those on the left were just decided by me based on your descriptions. The ones on the right are what Eco Interactive might want us to continue with going forward. And then after now project types, now we're into the fund types. So this is where also we're going to have a little discussion. This is the one more important that we wanted to talk about that Jen mentioned. So like under the green is what IDOT wants to use, unified across the entire state. IDOT can correct me when I say that, but we've been told by Eco Interactive that everybody is going to use what's under the green. What's under the blue is what we're currently using. And the thing that Jen was mentioning earlier was like, for example, Normal's stormwater fund or Bloomington's motor fuel tax. They'll be a little more generalized. So as you can see, like the stormwater fund under Eco Interactive and IDOT's terminology, it'd be just local funds. Same thing with the motor fuel tax. It will just be plain motor fuel tax, not who motor fuel tax. And that's when the custom fields come into use. So we'll do this obviously, but for our own, quirkiness, we can have, specific fund type or more detailed fund type, and then we can say this is actually Bloomington's motor fuel tax, not just the general motor fuel tax. And then this is IDOT's list based on like all of the programs that are out there, federal highway, for example, federal FTA, and then see for local, they only have 3 categories. So those are the 3 we're gonna have to work with. And then these are the categories they have for the state. And then these are the fund phases that we're also going to have to work with. One discussion and question we also had was like, for example, Veterans Parkway. That's just a study and it'll, so to speak, perpetually always be planning. There's no like construction associated with it. So we're thinking of just continuing with P. Am I right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, essentially the same thing we've always done.
But yeah, other than that, everything else should be fine. And then this is the other thing, lead agency list. This is what Eco Interactive pulled from our jurisdiction column, which is literally just letters B and J. So Bloomington County, joint, normal. Regional would be us, RPC. And then the other thing, we have a municipality field. In this situation, this is just physical location. Previously, it was agency, but in this case, it's physical location. So an IDOT project in Hayworth is physically located in Hayworth, but it is not a project led by the village of Hayworth, for example. And then this is the other thing we also want to discuss with you as we go along this process is project contact types. As you can see, for example, there's project manager, project consultant, and the primary contact. I guess that's something different than what we currently do.
Yeah, we've never used that specific information. And this way, once it's included in these records, anyone can go in and access them and know who to call and yell at. And that's just the way it goes, transparency.
And then, yeah, for example, this is just really quick custom field. So everything, we'll do what Eco Interactive and IDOT are highly recommending we do. But if we want to include additional information, like I said, the specific fund types, we can make our own fields to demonstrate that. And then this one is what I think is the most important for all of you. This is where the eTips usability really shines in the sense that like currently, correct me, the process is you all send your information to Jen and however you do it, an email, a spreadsheet, whatever, and then Jen is the one that prepares the tip. Under this paradigm, you guys would be the one to go in there and put in the information. So Jen will go in there and put all of Bloomington's information, etc.
And this essentially will replace this part of the ETIP process will replace the spring ritual where I send a long email to everyone saying, here's the schedule, please update your list, send them back to me, and all the nonsense that I sent out in the spring. So instead of that, we'll introduce you to this process and we can talk amongst ourselves about how we want to make sure we implement that, and if there's some sort of cross check you want me to do, whatever. But this will be next year's new tip process, starting in our usual time frame, and we'll all sort of work through it together.
And highlighted in blue, another thing that's also unique here, we have the option to have project questions. So when you fill this out, we can have a question that says, is this project in the MTP? If so, what is its ID, etc. We can come up with the questions. We can also just not do questions at all. But it's up to us. We can develop that however we see best. But
Because we are going to be starting on the new Metropolitan Transportation Plan, formerly known as the Long Range Plan, in October. This is all helpful for us in terms of how we cross-check between the TIP and the MTP when it's in process and done. And we're still kind of figuring out how that's going to work. But I think in the long run, it's a whole lot more transparent. It's easier for all of us to control our own fates in terms of making sure that projects are made available and entered into the system, and in the ability to do searches that sort of show relationships, show status, things like that.
any questions? This is the last slide.
This is more like a preview, so
Oh, yeah.
we don't expect, after the presentation, you'll be like expert, and we're still working with the consultants in Eco Interactive. So Jim will be reaching out to our local partners to work more closely on the details in the next few weeks while we're still working with the consultant. And then, as Jen said, that our plan is MCRPC will for this current round or next round, first year we'll do it, just see any bugs, and then when we feel comfortable, and then we'll involve you more closely, just so that if any bugs that need to be taken
And
out.
sort of star feature for this, and it mostly applies to District 5, but all of the amendments, so pick a project, go to that record, you'll see the amendments that have been processed with respect to it. And in some cases, for District 5, that can be a project and then maybe a half a dozen amendments over the course of 6 months or a year or whatever. Right now, it's very difficult to track those down because we have them in a list and you have to sort of go back and figure out, okay, is that the same project number and stuff like that.
I go through that occasionally too. Somebody asks me when something was, and I'm like,
Right, and
it takes a long time to find it.
and given that you're doing this for multiple MPOs and stuff, it's complicated. So we're hoping that this will make that way more easy to find, and that people will appreciate that they can see stuff sequentially, understand what the changes were, see them on the map, all the rest of it.
So for the November 10th launch date, that's essentially us digitizing the existing TIP. So we're not going to do anything fancy. There's no replacement of the TIP. When we do next year's TIP, that's when we'll utilize the call for projects.
Right,
tool.
exactly. And one more question, if anyone knows, part of what we're waiting on is your multi-year program. Anybody have any?
I have zero idea.
Yeah, we haven't heard.
It's all rumors at this point.
And it's,
Pretty much.
we're hoping that we can get that conversion done in October, but since we don't have a program yet, we'll have to wait and see.
Brandon?
So I'll add a couple things. First, I wanted to address the fund types. Obviously, with 15 MPOs across the state, we get funds called 15 different things. So as we were going into this, we worked with our local roads office and programming offices to determine what would be a good starting point for the MPOs. So we're hopefully going on similar information. And while the state programming is a little bit easier, obviously we want to be highly coordinated with our local roads team, because they're the ones, helping everyone try to get through the state letting process, try to get the project going. And if they know exactly what a fund type is, without having to dig further into it, it just makes one less step. So that list is a starting point. This isn't a state program. We're just kind of helping procure and move it along. So certainly if you need to make edits to what those fund types are, if you want to include more detailed local information, you're more than welcome to. We just wanted to give you a starting point and recommendation, knowing that, a lot of these projects are going to have to go through local roads at some point. And then to the MYP, I won't say for certain, but October 1 is looking good.
Thank you, Brandon. Yeah. Anybody? Oh, Tom, did you have a question?
No, she's,
Okay.
good job, Brandon.
Okay. Good to have you
All right.
today. Yes.
I will note that with the MYP release, they're going to announce the local project funding call awards. So if anyone submitted projects for that $400 million program we offered, I think in May, that's when the awards are going to be announced.
Okay. Great.
Sure, we'll all get on.
Well, it's less than 2 weeks. So yeah. We'll see. Yeah, whether October 1st or not. Okay. Anybody else got questions related to the YouTube? At least for now. Okay. All right. Thanks, Brandon, Janet, and Thomas, for sharing this, and yeah, we'll keep you apprised and also involved. Jen will reach out. You'll have brainstorming further, because like Brandon was saying, there's certain like fields that are really custom made, for our purposes. If that would be helpful for like your own elected bodies, to add something, and okay, how citizens, complain you're not spending enough money on street projects and whatnot, then it's easy for you to pull out that kind of.
We never heard that concern, right?
Right, absolutely.
This also goes to the fact that we've always used the TIP as a sort of educational document about who pays for what and how much. And in recent years, when we've had these delays in the state program, it's also sort of pointed out, here's what it looks like when we don't have the state numbers factored in. Here's what it looks like when we do, and the total changes radically for that 5-year program, mostly in federal dollars. But it comes in through IDA, not through direct federal grants to the local governments. So that's part of what we've always included, even the non-federal, thus non-required local projects that didn't have a federal component, just to show the complete range of what the locals were doing with their own resources. Hence the need for all of the codes and the indicators for the various underlying funds. Bloomington has 2 motor fuel tax capabilities or whatever. So we're looking to maintain that, and it may come in the form of like an annual report on investment in transportation in Bloomington or McLean County or something like that, rather than having it be sort of built into the TIP. Because this doesn't really, we can put in a statement or something in like an opening welcome page, but we may also make it more specific to say, all right, if you're curious about what's happened in the last year or what's planned for the next 5, here's what we have.
We also can use the custom field thing as well. We can say, whatever we want.
We're still working on how to make that work.
We also can point to some of the individual jurisdictions for some additional data rather than making it, sometimes I would get concerned about making it too complex and everybody's got to hit the same thing. It's more room for error. So if simple is better with the TIP, and then you can always go to the individual jurisdiction for details.
And I think this, as we get started on this with the new call for projects next year, that we will work out some of these issues and figure out how to maintain the information we've made available over the years, possibly in a different format, possibly a different link somewhere on the internet, but just to maintain that so that people don't feel like they're suddenly not finding what they expected.
Okay, great. Okay, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, number 20, project updates. I have 2, and then I'll open up to the committee. SS4A, the Coast Safe McLean County Action Plan. The revised draft has been prepared by the consultant, and then MCRPC staff will be putting it on the agenda for a special meeting of the commission this coming Wednesday, September 24th. So I'll be emailing to the people who are serving on the project steering committee. Just want to invite them if you want to watch or participate and be recognized for the hard work on this project. So this is exciting. So we'll be having this project with kind of update to the 2021 plan, and then there will be a task force after the plan adoption, if adopted. When I don't see any issue with that, then like a task force to be formed and continue the implementation. So that's one thing. And then another thing is the Veterans Parkway. As you're aware, the meeting for September is being canceled to allow the consultants to do more analysis. And there will be a meeting. The next meeting will be October the 10th, and then there will be more presentations what the outcomes of the analysis. But then kind of a heads up, there will be public open houses in early November that we are working with the consultants to schedule and also to identify some details. But that will be further discussed with the project steering committee in the October meeting. That's all I have in terms of transportation-related projects. Anybody got anything to mention?
IDOT 51, any updates? November still?
I didn't bring my packet with me today. I could follow up with that.
I just haven't heard.
Last I heard, got pushed to February.
Yeah.
I was waiting. I knew
That
it
was
was
kind
going
of
to
what I was
happen.
leaning towards also. I was just gonna go make sure, but
Yeah. Last time I'd ever been, like, nope, we're still saying November. Wink, wink. We know it's going to end. Okay, great. Thank you.
So you guys all heard that the RAISE grant that was awarded in McLean County for the Route 66 bike trail was withdrew from the federal DOT. So we'll be probably looking at that project for an ITEP project or some other type of grant funds that come through.
Sorry.
Yeah,
That's a big bummer.
There were other race grants pulled in throughout the state, but we just
I
had
think
one of them.
throughout the
Yeah.
country.
Yeah, I'm hearing words of, everything from anything that has a road diet or a bike ped component are getting pulled. Roundabouts are getting pulled.
Oh my gosh.
And RAISE was renamed back to build. So they.
All right, thanks, Jerry. Anybody? Anybody?
You asked for an update, Ray, on
Yeah.
our campus safety initiative.
Yeah.
So we're currently in the midst of some of our pilot projects. Those 7 locations were installed in early September. Actually, the last one was just installed this Tuesday. So far so good. We've got a lot of positive feedback. I think the 2 biggest ones, the biggest changes, were we closed School Street between College and Mulberry. So we've got a lot of really good input back from students that really like the change. And then the other big change that's actually permanent, we intend it to be a permanent change now that we've seen that it's working well over the last couple of days. So unless something changes drastically, but we switched Broadway and Beaufort to a 4-way stop and put in a bunch of curb extensions.
I saw those. They freaked me out. Those little plastic, the sort of reptile things.
Yeah. We put speed bumps to harden the center line to force drivers to slow down and take
Yeah.
the turn more at
It works.
a bigger angle. Yeah, or a steeper angle. Allows pedestrians to have better views of cars and vice versa. Slows people down to the intersection. So it's working really well. And right now we're intending those to just stay on until we run out of bollards. We've got probably 40 bollards installed between all the projects, and I think we've only lost 2 so far.
Wow,
Actually, yeah. So I'm really pleased.
that's a win.
Yeah, you had to get used to. I drove some of those. Yeah, I had to get used to the turning radius.
Yeah, we were. Connect Transit is a heavy user of that intersection, but
Yes.
the drivers have been really good. Knocked any down that I'm aware of. So.
Very good. Anybody else got any other projects?
I'll, I guess the update on the Route 66 project that we have been going on now down to from Punks Grove to the Village of McLean. That's progressing. They have about 2.5 miles paved out, and they're kind of working more in the Village of McLean and tying in that section there. We kind of ran into some utility conflicts, but that project's moving along fairly well.
Great. And completion date again?
I'm guessing in October, probably middle of November, maybe. So
Okay, great.
Is that road here?
yes.
And so from a Hamilton Road Phase 2 perspective, that one has now been awarded. We've done the pre-con on it, so that one's looking to go. Hamilton Phase 1 should be done here in the next 2 weeks. Hamilton Road Phase 2, a $24 million job, looking to be completed at the end of the construction season 27. So that's good. Fox Creek Road, I think we overcame the hurdle of the transition from the property owner. That there there's a apartment complex that we're trying to get land acquisition from. It was financed by HUD. HUD was challenging to work with. And then we finally got through it, and then they sold the property. So we're like, you're kidding me. That was the last one. So we think we have that one, the transition documents done. So we're hoping in October to put out for bid, road, that bridge there. So that'll impact different folks.
Good. Yeah. Just curious, on the downtown construction, anything you want to update?
Actually leaving right now after this to go have lunch with the illustrious Kevin Cothe down in the Brass Pig. So I'm sure he'll want to say hi to everybody, see how he's doing in retirement. And then, so yeah, 600 block is what they're working on currently on North Main. That is almost $14 million project in our downtown, 4 blocks. Facade to facade improvements, complete infrastructure overhaul, which is great. Underground detention. Currently, the 600 block should be done by November of this year. It's actually coming along well. Lots of challenges, as you know, with the turn of the century Civil War era infrastructure. There's lots of different unknown vaults or window wells and things that we're dealing with, and so it's been an interesting job. It's been, I will say, fun from a challenge perspective. But so yeah, and downtown Bloomington always tends to have the stakeholders, or can always be unique to work with. So it makes it always fun. So. And then that'll go all the way up to the 300 block of North Main, to over down south to Jefferson. So.
Right. Things going on in our area. Yeah. Anybody else got anything? All right. Then our next scheduled meeting, or that which may arise, I guess nobody. Next scheduled meeting, October 17th, 10:30 in this very room. Take a motion for adjournment.
So second.
Okay. Jane and Jerry, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you for one of the longest meetings, one of the few longest meetings.
I have to say,
Thank you so much.
This conference is no longer being recorded.